So my previous unboxing, I said I got a Newegg box that had two items in it today, and the first item was that Corsair SP120 fan. The second item um, is one that I was really waiting on. It is my MSI Twin Frozr. Let me get this straight. MSI Twin Frozr GTX 770. It is the overclocked edition gaming series. I've already taken the first step on the unboxing, and that was to get rid of this cellophane. If I didn't get rid of that cellophane, when I tried to show that box, you just saw nothing but reflections of my computer monitors. So let me throw that away. I bought the MSI for a couple of reasons. Well, first, let me back up. I narrowed it down to either an AMD Radeon R9 280X or a GTX 770. I got there between those two cards or chipsets because of budget. I couldn't spend more than about $375. At the time that I was looking, the R9 280X, it was at the top end of that. It was pushing $400 for it. But I did a shout out on Twitter, and Logan from Tech Syndicate recommended that I get the 770, the GTX 770. He actually recommended the EVGA Superclocked Edition, and the reason he recommended it over top of the Radeon was because it was cheaper. And what I did was I was just about to pull the trigger at Newegg on that EVGA when I noticed, or I went back and I did a search for all GTX 770s. This one came up in Newegg's list as C price in the cart, and I know that prices these days vary from day to day, but at the time that I bought this, it was significantly cheaper than that 375. So I got this one for the main reason that it was cheaper than the EVGA model. But I'm glad that I bought this, or at least I am at this moment, because I haven't put it in my computer. Because from what I've heard, this model, this brand, cools better and is generally quieter, and it's running faster, 40 or 50 megahertz or something like that. I don't remember the exact specs, but this one's clocked faster than the EVGA superclocked one was. So hopefully what we'll get out of this is we'll get as good a performance, if not better performance, for less noise and better cooling. So I'll give you guys a replay later on, or not a replay, but a rundown later on what it actually does for me. Now I got to tell you right now that the card that I've got, as far as cooling and sound, I'm happy with. The card I've got right now is a Gigabyte WindForce Edition GTX 660. When I bought this computer, that was really the one thing that I wished that I could have gotten better. I mean, the day I bought the parts for it was the day that I started wanting a better video card. It's not that this card is terrible or anything, it's just that the games that I play, specifically Skyrim and Guild Wars, they tax that card pretty heavily. I mean, I can play Guild Wars 2 at pretty well maxed out settings, and in most cases I'll get 60 frames a second everywhere, but when I get into battles and stuff, And even small battles like in dungeon runs or something, it'll drop down into the 40s. I'm hoping that this thing here will get me, you know, good solid steady 60 frames a second. Now I know Skyrim, I know Crysis, though games like that you can tweak them to the point to where it'll bring any card to their knees. But what I'm wanting is good, solid, smooth 60 frames a second with decent, if not ultimate, settings. I mean, for example, I've been on a Diablo kick here lately, and when I turn vertical sync off, that 660 will run Diablo 3 high 120 frames plus. Most of the time, it's averaging around 140. I keep vertical sync on that game because the card is running so fast that I can actually see micro stutters and screen tears because the card's outrunning with the capabilities of my screen. And my ancient Dell 2407s, they're not really able to take advantage of that anyway. But anyway, back to the unboxing. So beautiful case or box, you know, black with red accents. I love the MSI Dragon. Whole lot of specs and features and details, but I mean it's basically pretty much all the stuff that you know, almost any 770 would have on it. I'm trying to see if it tells what its clock frequency is. This one here, it's a GTX 770. It's got 2 gigabytes of GDDR5, 256-bit bandwidth. It's got 2 DVIs, which is one thing that I've got to have. Hear that, AMD? I'm glad that your R9 series are coming out with dual DVIs on them. Coming with a single DVI and display port and stuff, that's just not cool. It comes with 2 DVIs, like I said, an HDMI and a display port. Let's see. It has the MSI Afterburner, which I use already mainly for its video capture. Military grade military class for top quality and stability MOSFETs and capacitors. Yeah. It uses the Twin Frozr. Right here it says that it uses the Twin Frozr heatsink and cooling, which I'll look at. I'm not going to tear this card apart like Linus and Logan and all of them would do, but I'll at least show you the fans and stuff. It's DirectX 11 capable, GPU Boost 2. It requires 2 8-pin PCI Express connectors, and they recommend a 600 watt power supply, which is exactly what mine is. So I'm hoping that my little Rosewill Hive 600 power supply doesn't melt down with this. So anyway, that's about enough of the reading of the box. Let's go ahead and open it and see what we get. Okay. Outer box, of course. Alright, inside, it's a really nice black cover. Actually, it's more than a cover. Alright, it's a little small box, which I'm assuming will have drivers and paperwork and stuff. Well, actually, it's got more than that. Alright, first thing first, it's got a DVI to VGA adapter, which I won't need. It has a 6-pin to 8-pin PCI adapter, which I won't need. It actually has 2 of those, 6-pin to 8-pin PCI Express power connector. It comes with drivers and software, which I will probably not use. I'll probably go straight to the website and get the latest and greatest. I've already got the latest NVIDIA driver, but I'll probably go to MSI site and get the greatest MSI Afterburner or something. And then it comes with this pamphlet in about 17 different languages, showing you how to install the card, minimum specs and all that stuff. It's a user's guide that's not really worth much. So for me, pretty much everything in this box is useless. So we'll put it back in that box and we'll save that till later. Alright, this thing's being a little ornery here. And you'll probably hear my daughter in the background, so just please ignore that. We have some styrofoam. And then the card itself. Inside more cellophane, which I will remove momentarily. Alright, this card is heavy. This is probably the heaviest video card that I have ever put my hands on. Alright, excuse the noise. Alright, so here is the card. Black and red accents, 2 fans. That's one thing I'm a little concerned about, because my Gigabyte card has 3 fans. It uses that Gigabyte's Wind Force cooling system, and it does a pretty fantastic job. When I'm playing Guild Wars, I'm using 80-90% GPU usage, and the thing's getting 60 degrees Celsius. You know, that's not terrible if you ask me. Anyway, this is, can't tell if that's plastic. It's not metal, but it's painted with a metallic finish, so it looks like metal. Even this red looks like metal. We have the 2 DVIs, an HDMI. Yeah, 2 DVIs, HDMI, and DisplayPort. And you have the SLI connectors, and I think this can be 3-way SLI. It may be able to go 4-way SLI, but 3-way for sure, because it's got two connectors. The PCI Express. I like how all of the connectors on it are covered up, and I'll probably leave everything but the DVIs and the PCI Express. If you can look at the bottom, you can see, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the bottom. 4 giant heat pipes there. And then on the top, there's a 5th, and it's a larger diameter than the 4 on the bottom. And if you can look through the fans, you can see the fins for the heatsink itself, and all I can say is that it's monstrous. And it does have a metal frame, which you can see part of right here. This and this little black strip right here, that's all metal, and from what I've seen online, it runs down in and stiffens the card, so that when like in my case, it's going to be mounted like this, so that it doesn't flex a lot. It's always good to use these screws, which I will, to mount it to your case, to where that helps even more. So there's your 2 8-pin PCI Express connectors. And other than its weight, I'm not really worried about anything, I think. I am a little concerned about it being so heavy. I'm also slightly concerned about how high it is. If you'll notice, this ledge here is where the screws go into the case. And then it comes up with this little bump here, and then back here there's another little bump, and I'm a little concerned that this may be a little too high for my case. Only time will tell here in a minute. I have done, just for comparison's sake, because I don't really, I don't know that how much faith to put in benchmarks these days, but I downloaded the Valley benchmark, and I ran it on the 660 that I've got in the computer now. Once I get this done, I'll run the benchmark again, and I'll come back and tack onto this video and let you see what it was before and after. And at that time, I'll probably even make a comment or two about noise and fit and finish and all of that. So anyway, that's been the start of my unboxing, and I'll finish up the overview here in just a few minutes. Thanks for watching, guys. Alright, I'm back. The video card transplant was a success. I need to make a couple of corrections from the first part of this video. The first thing I want to talk about is the GTX770 that I had in here. It is a WindForce edition from Gigabyte, but instead of it having two fans, it's only got, or I'm sorry, instead of it having three fans, it's only got two fans. They didn't come out with the 3-fan model until the 700 series, or at least I think that's when they came out. My 660 only has 2 fans, and it only uses one 6-pin PCI Express power connector. Which leads me into my second correction. My power supply, it is a Rosewill Hive, but it's not a 600 watt power supply, it's a 650 watt power supply. And it just so happens that this video card, or not video card, but power supply, it's semi-modular, so I was able to get my cables and actually just plug up the other 8-pin PCI Express power connector, and everything's fine. I was able, like I said, to get the card transplanted out, and things are working fine. Obviously, with the first boot, the system had to find the card, and then it rebooted, and everything was cool. So just to let you know about some performance metrics, and you can take this with a grain of salt, because it's my system versus your system versus somebody else's system. Results may vary, but the simple truth of the matter is that, as expected, this new card is faster. Let me turn this window on here. This is the benchmark, the Valley benchmark that I did on my 660. I ran the exact same test. I ran it at 1920 by 1080 on high quality, 2 times anti-aliasing. Okay, and this was what I ran before I swapped the card out. And as you can see, I averaged 49.4 frames a second. Swap that to the new card, same settings, same exact settings, just a different card. And you can see it went from 49 to 78. I'm pretty happy with that. And there's my daughter screaming again. So anyway, overall, quick first impressions, I am very pleased with the card. It was not as I was concerned about it fitting in my case. My case is deep enough that I've got probably a good inch, maybe 2 inches before the top of the card hits the side of the case, so I'm not worried about that. One thing I do have to say, though, this card is several inches longer than my 660, and as such, I had a pretty hard time tucking the power cables, but that's just because of the way that my cables were made. But I think my 660 was like 9 inches long, and my 770 is 11. So if your case is, a small case, you may have difficulty sticking this card inside of it. One other thing I want to mention: it is quieter, but at the same time, I was telling you that I was hoping that it was going to be a little cooler than my other card. Well, that's not the case. When I was running this benchmark, this Valley benchmark, the 770 hit 80 degrees Celsius. It didn't go higher than 80. The fans ramped up, and it stayed right at 80 once it got there. And I'm not sure if that's the design of the card, if that's something in the BIOS or what, but that seems a little warm to me. But it didn't hurt it. The fans ramped up to somewhere in the neighborhood of 1400 RPM. I did hear them do that, but it wasn't terrible. And like I said, it never got above 80, so I'm kind of concerned that it's throttling a little bit. It hit that threshold and then back down. But if that's the case, then that's the case. That's just the way it's supposed to work. But anyway, overall, I'm happy with the card. I'm happy with the service from Newegg as always. They got it here as promised. Everything that I got the holiday. Let me turn this window off here. Hold on. I got the holiday bundle, so I've got Batman, Splinter Cell, and Assassin's Creed 4. A little bit odd on how that works, where you get Batman from Steam and you get the other two from Uplay, but I worked through that process, and I got the games that just fine. Now I think from what I gather from Nvidia's site, that bundle disappears sometime in February. Check to be sure, because I haven't got confirmation of that, but that's what my memory tells me, sometime in February. But anyway, overall, MSI Gaming Edition Twin Frozr GTX770 overclock. Very nice card, very well built card, and I'm happy with the results of it. Until I get my next unboxing or gameplay video or something up there, you guys have fun and keep coming back. Like if you like the video, don't like if you, or put a thumbs down if you don't like it. Tell me why though. Tell me why you don't like it. Tell me something I can do better. And as always, folks, subscribe because it does help me. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers mark, and hopefully that will happen quickly. So anyway, shoot me a Twitter or something. Come over to my website and drop me a comment. Hopefully there'll be a few more videos to come in a routine fashion throughout this year. That's one of the things that I'm going to try to do, is probably at the beginning anyway, once a week, put something up. So give me some feedback. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, and hit the subscribe. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.